Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss the topic current electricity. And we are very familiar with current. Without the current in nowadays we cannot live it, right? Okay. So first we will see what is the source of direct current. We are very familiar with this one. What is this? This is a cell. So this is the primary source of direct current. How the current is passing through this cell? We know that there should be a positive electrode, a positive point and a negative point. The top silver brass is there, a little bit bigger one. So that is the positive end and this is a negative end. So when we are connecting a bulb through a connection wire from positive end to the negative end, the bulb will glow, or we can tell that the current is flowing through the circuit. So during this current flow, or how the current is generating from this direct cell or the normal cell, what happens? Inside this chemical reaction is happening, or this cell is filled with two different kinds of chemicals and two different kinds of electrodes, positive and negative, or we used to call it as anode and cathode. So when we are connecting through a connection wire, or when the current is drawn from the cell, parallelly a chemical reaction is happening. Or else we can tell that when we are using a cell for a long time, for a particular interval of time, we will get a constant current. Okay, from the cell for a particular interval of time, constantly we will get a particular amount of current. So this is a direct, this is a source of direct current. Okay, we can divide the, or we used to call it as the initial source of electricity. We can divide the direct sources into two categories: primary cells and secondary cells. Primary cells and secondary cells. What is primary cells? We are very familiar with it. What I have in my hand is a kind of primary cell. Okay. Or simply we can tell that it's a use and throw cells. It's a use and throw cells. Or else once the entire chemical reaction is over, means we will not get the output as the current. Or we can tell that the chemical reactions are not reversible. It is irreversible. So such kind of cells are called primary cells. Only once we can use it. Once the charge is finished, means we have to throw it away. Okay, so that is called primary cells. This is a kind of dry cell. Okay, this is a kind of dry cell, means there is no liquid form. Inside this one, it is in the form of powder or paste. So it's a kind of primary cell. Not only these dry cells are available along with the primary cell, we have different kinds of cell which is having solutions. Mostly in chemical labs and all we are using such kind of cells. It will be having a solution. Two solutions will be there and two sets of electrodes. Okay, one is cathode and another one is anode. Just consider it as a voltage cell. Voltage cell is an example for primary cell. Zinc sulfide and copper sulfide will be there in two different tumblers, and we will be having two electrodes. Zinc and copper will be there. We have to connect these two containers with a salt bridge. Okay, when we are connecting these two containers with a salt bridge, automatically the chemical reaction will happen here, and we are connecting a galvanometer here, means we can measure the output as current. Or else if you are connecting a bulb here, it will glow. This is an example of primary cell. Likewise, we have Leclanché cell. Leclanché cell means that is also somewhat similar like the dry cell. Actually, dry cell is made by seeing the formation of Leclanché cell. So it will be having a two set of tumblers like this way. One, the entire container is act as a cathode, and here the one set of solution will be there, and inside that one more tumbler, and again here and on the top there will be another cathode. So by taking actually this design, we made the dry cell. We know the dry cell on the top cathode, inside cathode will be there, and upon the top we are keeping the brass, and it is immersed in a manganese dioxide. Again a pack is there, muslin pack, and again inside that we are keeping the ammonium chloride and all. Then again the large zinc container will be there. Somewhat similar pattern. So all these kind of or all these cells are coming under the category of primary cells. Once the chemical reaction is over means it will not produce the electricity. Okay, now second kind of cell is secondary cells, or we used to call it as accumulators. Secondary cells or accumulator. Okay, the main difference between primary cells and secondary cells are, it is the process of generating the current is reversible. Okay, so that means once the charge is over also, again we can recharge it. That is the main difference between primary cells and secondary cells. So in this category mostly we are using lead acid accumulator or nickel ion accumulators. These are the solution based secondary cells, mostly that we are using in the inverters or in car batteries and all. Okay, lead acid accumulator, and even that is using the car batteries or vehicle batteries. Commonly we can tell that vehicle batteries, and even in the inverters. And other than that, even dry batteries are also available. That is, we are very familiar with that, the chargeable battery, rechargeable battery of our smartphones, no, all the mobile phones, that is coming under the category of secondary cells or accumulator. So here, when the current is drawn from the cell, the chemical reaction is happening, or we can tell that chemical reaction changes into electrical or electricity. Okay, chemical reactions produces electricity. Once the charge is finished, what we are doing? We are connecting it to the electricity. The battery should be connected to the electricity. During that time, electricity is making chemical energy, or electricity converting into chemical energy. Or like a simple example, just consider it, not the exact one, but CuSO4, copper sulfide. Okay, just consider when the current is drawn from the circuit, it's going to change it as, how it will be changing? You might have studied in chemistry, no? Copper plus and SO4 minus. Okay, copper plus and SO4 minus. So during that time, so this is what happens when the current is drawn from the cell. Okay, when the current is drawn from the cell, this is what happens. So till the process is continuing, we will get the output as electricity. Now, once the charge is over, what we are going to give? We are going to connect it to the power supply. So during that time, Cu plus and SO4 minus will join, and it creates CuSO4 back. So it will be regaining it to the original version. So again it will be filled, and this process is ready to convert the chemical energy to electrical energy. This is what happens in the case of secondary cells or accumulator. Okay, so these are the main difference between the primary cells and secondary cells. If you see the difference between primary cells and secondary cells, we can tell that first one, the primary cells, the chemical reaction is irreversible. Secondary cells, the chemical reaction is reversible. And here for primary cells, the chemical energy changes into electrical energy, and for secondary cells, during the recharging time, electrical energy is changing into chemical energy, and primary cells are very cheap, or it's affordable to everyone, but secondary cells, comparing with the secondary cells, it is little bit costly. And when we see the amount or the strength of the current production, the primary cells produces always weak signals or weak current. Comparing with that, with the secondary cells, we will get a strong current for a long time. And if you see the internal resistance, for the primary cells, the internal resistance is very less, and for the secondary cells, the internal resistance is very high. So these are some of the main differences between primary cells and secondary cells. Now we'll see what is electric current. Electric current. We know that when we rub two bodies together, the body will get charged. Right? No, when we rub two bodies together, the body will get charged, positively charged and negatively charged. The body which gain the electrons are known as negatively charged bodies, and the body which loses the electrons are known as positively charged bodies. Okay. So if you are keeping two charged bodies together and connecting that two with a setup or through a connection wire, the charge will travel from, or the electrons will move from one body to the another one. But it should be connected through a connection wire. Just consider that we have a positively charged body and a negatively charged body. Simply if we keep, means the charges are not going to be transferred. But if you are connecting it with a connection wire, the charge will travel from this side to that side. Electrons, wherever the negative charged body means, they have more electrons. So electrons will travel from that end to this end. Okay. So during the rubbing time also, the electron is traveling, or one body is giving one electron to the another body. Okay. So now we'll see what is electric current, or simply current, or we can tell it as rate of change of electric current. Just consider a conductor and it's completely filled with electrons. Okay, just consider it as electrons. We know that in a normal circuit, the electrons are responsible for the current flow. Right? No? Electrons are responsible for the current flow. If we are connecting it to an external battery, what happens? The electrons will be attracted. What is charge of electron? It is negative in charge. So it is attracted towards the positive end. Or simply we can tell that, just leave it this one. At this particular point, or this cross section, we used to call it as cross section. Okay, just consider I made a point on the particular point. So on this cross section, the number of electron crossing in 1 second, that will give us a amount of current. Okay, or in 1 second, how many electron cross a particular cross section, which is normal to the, this is normal, no? This is normal to this surface. So how many electron crossed on a particular cross section which is normal to the direction of flow of electrons, that will give you the current. Current is always represented by the letter I. Okay, current is always represented by the letter I. We can make an equation. Electrons are charge carriers, right? No, so we used to represent the charge with the symbol Q, capital Q or small q. Here I am using capital Q. I is equal to Q divided by T. So how many electrons or how much charge traveled in a particular interval of time or in unit time, that will give you the current. I is equal to Q by T. Okay. Current is a scalar quantity. It doesn't have any particular direction and all. Current is a scalar quantity. We know that in metals, the current flow is due to the movement of electrons. And as in the case of electrolyte, it is due to the movement of positive and negative ions. And we know the charge of electrons. It's negatively charged and the value is minus 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. What is coulomb? It's a unit of charge. It's a unit of charge. Now, if we rearrange the equation, we simply wrote it as Q divided by T. If you are mentioning that in terms of number of electrons, so Q means in this cross section, how many number of electrons moved divided by T. We can rearrange the equation as I is equal to N into E. N is the number of electrons. N is the number of electrons traveled on this cross section at a particular interval of time. So current is equal to Q divided by T, or I is equal to number of electrons into charge of electron divided by T. This is a way how we are calculating as in the case of electric current or in the metal. Now how can we calculate in the case of electrolyte? Electrolyte also we used to consider N as the number of charge carriers. We are using, or current is equal to positive. There are positive ions and negative ions. So for positive ions we are taking N number of ions, positive ions, and N number of negative ions. Okay. And the movement of the negative ions we used to consider it as negative, and positive is a normal direction. So the total current available in the electrolyte can be found by N Q minus N minus Q. N into minus Q. Okay, here this is plus Q. N plus Q minus N minus Q. So this minus and minus, if you multiply means it will become positive. Or we can tell that N into plus Q plus N into minus Q. So total number of positive ions and negative ions will give the current as in the case of electrolyte. Now we'll see the conventional direction of electric current, or how we used to represent the direction of electric current. If this is a conductor, electrons are here. If it is attached to an external battery, these are negatively charged particles. So obviously these charges will be attracted towards the positive side. I'll mark here. This is the direction of electrons. But normally for the conventional current flow, we used to represent this bigger one is positive and the smaller one, the cells we used to represent like positive and negative. So the normal conventional current flow is just opposite to the direction of electron flow. Electrons are actually traveling from that direction to this direction, but this is the conventional direction of current flow, from positive to negative. Okay. Now we'll see the unit of current. We'll see the unit of current. We studied an equation to find the current is equal to charge, that is Q, divided by time T. Right? Okay. So current is equal to, what is the unit of charge? It's coulomb. Coulomb, that is capital C, divided by time, it is second. Yes. So current is equal to coulomb by second, or we used to call it as ampere. And we used to represent with the letter capital A. Current The unit is coulomb per second or ampere. Okay. If just consider 1 ampere is equal to 1 coulomb divided by 1 second. When we will get 1 ampere, if 1 coulomb charge passing in 1 second through a cross section, we will get 1 ampere. Okay. Shall we find out how many electrons should travel or cross in 1 second to get 1 coulomb charge? We'll find it out. Okay. So we studied that I is equal to N into E divided by T. I'm going to substitute it. These values we know that it's 1. But we don't know what is the number of electrons. Okay. So 1 ampere. If you want to get 1 ampere current, that is equal to 1 coulomb, it's N. We don't know what is the number of electron, but we know the charge of electron. 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 divided by 1 second. Okay, when we rearrange this equation, what we are going to get? Cross multiplication. N is equal to, this should come in the denominator factor, 1 divided by 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. So if you want to find out the number of electrons to get 1 ampere current, 1 divided by 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. After solving, we will get 6.25 into 10 to the power 18 electrons. If you want to get 1 ampere current in 1 second, 6.25 into 10 to the power 18 electrons should travel or move in that particular cross section in 1 second. 1 second, if 6.25 into 10 to the power 18 electrons are crossing, we can tell that the current available in the circuit is 1 ampere. Okay, and normally we used to represent current with amperes. And if you want to find out the small current, we used to represent with milliampere. Okay, sometimes when you are doing the experimental, normal case we want big currents, but for experimental purpose, most of the time we need minute currents, 1 ampere, less than ampere, smaller ones. So the smaller current we used to represent as milliampere. MA, milliampere. Milli means 10 to the power minus 3. Now microampere is there. That is mu A. It is 10 to the power minus 6. So these are the commonly used smaller unit of current, ampere. Thank you.